Coming in hot from Arizona, this is Trevor
and Troy Howard.
And you're on So Tell Us Time. You can have everything you want in your business. Sometimes you just need a little help.
Every business owner would love to charge more for their services, but sometimes you can sacrifice long-term loyalty for a short-term profit.
Creating the right rituals is key to your business having success.
Are you tired of competing with your competitors? Guess what? You don't have to compete if you create.
Well, howdy everybody. We're so excited to be with you today. It's a good day. It's a Tuesday. And if you've been listening to So Tell Us Time for any period of time now, you know Tuesdays are a good day. It's a day we get to spend a little time with you, get your mind thinking in working on the business instead of maybe always working in the business, which we are guilty of as well. We get caught up working in that business, but when you're working in the business, who is left to work on the business? Well, that's what we kind of try to help you get your mind wrapped around and move little incremental steps forward so that you can work on the business versus always in the business. I mean, it may take some time, but again, those small little changes will make huge and big differences as time goes on. Today, we're talking about the quick fix, you know? Yeah. For all my YouTubers slapping the vein here, the quick fix, baby. The quick fix, or even we might call it the sugar rush, right? Something that just hits you hard. Well, all too often, companies, a big problem that we have is that we are that quick fix or we are that sugar rush, right? We only are communicating with our customers when it's time for that transaction, right? And the problem with that is it doesn't really help build a successful business because it doesn't help build a long-lasting relationship. There's a difference between a transactional company and a relationship, okay? And what you want to do, if you want to build a bulletproof business that can last through pandemics and recessions and, maybe even depressions, we can do that by building a relationship style business versus that quick fix, right? All right, Troy, let's jump into it.
All right. So the big question today is, how are you building relationships with your clients instead of just, creating this one-time transaction with them? And we're going to give you a couple of tips and tricks on how to do that. But I want you to really think about it. Like, think about you, think about your clients, and is there a relationship at all, right? Do you have a relationship with your clients? Do you have repeat business with your clients? Do you know your clients?
And you'd be surprised. Like, I have taken so many clients from other competitors of ours that it's like one customer, they were spending $15,000 a month.
Yeah.
And the only time they heard from that company was at the 1-year mark when it was time to renew that 1-year contract. And that's just so impersonable,
Yeah.
like impersonal. You have to build this relationship with people, and then it's hard for them to want to leave you. Trust me, that company, they jumped off board real fast.
Yeah.
Especially when they experienced our company and how we do things. So,
yeah. It's interesting you said, I was talking to one of our clients the other day, and they gave me like the biggest compliment ever for our company. And what they said was, I feel like when I interact with you and your team, I feel like I'm your only client.
Yeah.
Like you don't service anybody else but just me.
It's awesome.
And that's what we're talking about. That's a relationship, not a transactional thing.
That's right.
So let's talk about, first off, communication. Do you have a communication plan with your clients, right? I mean, Trevor gave a perfect example of, is the only time you communicate with your clients to collect a payment from them.
Yeah. That's a transaction relationship.
Exactly. So what other communication do you have with them? So we'll give you some examples. Like, do you have an email campaign that's set up that you continually trickle out information to them? And you may say like, well, what would I do? What would I email my people? And we'll just go through a couple examples. You can do, if you're in the pest industry, you could have an email that goes out just not all the time, right? But once a month or once a quarter that goes out and just reminds them, hey, we're going into fall and here's the pests that you're probably going to be seeing around this time. Or, hey, it's springtime and here's what you're going to see, right? So some informational stuff, not pitching them, but just giving them informational stuff that creates more of that feel of communication between you and them.
Right.
Another great example would be like in the childcare industry. There's a lot of things that you could communicate to them. You could talk about like, hey, look, here's the nutritional value that we're giving your children, right? Yeah. Here's some of the meals that we're doing. Here's some of the things, the safety features that we have in place, right? Remind them of that. Like, look, we have this great program where you can watch your kids. Don't forget to check in on them. Or we have this upcoming, event, a fun day with the kids or parent-teacher conferences. So again, communicating back and forth, making it more of that relationship.
And if you're a childcare, you better do this because you want the parent to feel like they are involved in their child's life. And the fact that they're leaving them for 8 hours a day, they can feel very disconnected from their children. So having the activities and letting them know about the activities, letting them know about the curriculum that they're doing, the food that they're eating, all of these things is going to make them feel more involved and, a part of it,
Exactly. And I'll give you another example. Actually, my children's school that they go to, right? This is high school and junior high.
Yep.
I get multiple text messages and emails.
Oh, yeah.
Every single week.
Yep.
From their principal at the high school and principal at the junior high.
And quite often, because our kids go to the same schools, quite often it's a video, which I love. Instead of just like an email, it's a video from the principal with her on there talking and saying the latest updates or whatever it is, the activities that are coming up or all of that. And I think that's just such a great way that I can just click and watch and it keeps my attention and I'm not reading this long email. You know, so.
It's the first time I think ever that I've even known the principal's name of my children, which is kind of sad. I mean, my wife is really great at staying on top of all that stuff, but it gives me, a way to participate in what's going on with my children's education.
And what's cool is like I go home and I'll be like, hey, did you see that email? Yep. And so then now me and my wife are talking about it where normally it's just my wife knows everything and I know nothing.
Yeah, and in other schools, the way it worked was they had that information available, but they didn't send it to me. I would have to like go on their website and look it up there, which I'm never going to do, right? Because that's not communication. That's me just going and looking for that information. So they actually created a way to communicate with us. So that's a great way to do it. Another example of that is like a newsletter. You send out a newsletter once a month. Or and the newsletter doesn't have to just be all about your business and things like that. It can be funny things. It can be memes. It can be things that people enjoy.
You could have a section that's a joke of the month or something like that.
Recipes, all that kind of stuff.
But and another example would be like a lawn care service.
Yes.
So how you take care of your lawn or what you should expect of your bushes and trees and grass and everything differs from the summer to the winter. And the fall, right? So you could be giving them information of, hey, just so you know, like the other day, one of my trees turned yellow and started dropping its leaves. And my wife's like, it's dying. It's dying. And so I hit up one of my buddies that does lawn care. And I have two of the exact same trees next to him. And one of them's still green and lush and beautiful. And he said, no, it's not dying. He goes, that tree just, we're starting to get into that winter time. It's cooling down. He goes, that tree's just dumping early. It's just taken out a little earlier than the other. And don't worry, next year it's going to grow back. In fact, here's if that's what you're experiencing, go ahead and throw this food. You buy it from Walmart, throw this food on it. It's going to be good. So that would be information that you could, relay in one of these newsletters.
Yep, exactly. So another thing is, do you have scheduled follow-ups with your clients to remind them of like upcoming services, things like that. One of the ones that we hear this a lot from carpet cleaners, and they're like, like people need to get the carpets cleaned at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, awesome. Do you but they never do. They do it like once a year, once every couple of years. And it's like, okay, great. So do you follow up with your clients 2 or 3 times a year to remind them that it's time to get their carpets cleaned? Well, no, I don't do that. Okay, well, wait a minute. Like, you want them to get their carpets cleaned 2 or 3 times a year, but you don't follow up with them about that.
Yeah.
Like, how can you expect them to do it?
And in between then, like in between those reminders, that's very easy that at least once a month or once every 2 months, you could be giving them information. There's so much information in the carpet cleaning industry about, bugs in the, and, these little mites. I see the little image of all the little dust mites in the carpet and your ventilation system, cleaning that out and how disgusting and dirty that is, or your dryer vents, right? They get all plugged up and what happens in those. There's so much. You could be talking about chemicals. You could be talking about soil and soot and crap. You could be talking about what they're bringing in off of their shoes.
Yep.
I mean, and I'll bet you, and I know this for a fact, they're literally bringing crap in because they're walking outside and they might step in something. Your kids aren't paying attention. And there's a lot that you could communicate easily as a carpet cleaner to fill up that 2 or 3 months in between. Maybe if you're doing it 3 times a year, if that's what you're suggesting, you could easily fill that time up with communication that then really sets up, you're just really teeing them up to knock it out of the park. That when you hit them up and say, hey, it really is time for us to clean the carpet, they're like, oh yeah, I got poop in my carpet and I got dust mites and all that kind of crap.
Yep, exactly. Another thing too is, again, to create more of the relationship, are you gathering information about your clients, like maybe their birthdays, their anniversaries, things like that? How many of you have signed up for a restaurant program where they send you, hey, it's your birthday, get a free dessert. And what do? You go back to the business and you get your free dessert, right?
Yep.
And you end up spending $50 on dinner to get a $5 dessert.
Yep.
So do you have things like that? In fact, it's actually funny. Sitting here right on my desk, here, it says, Troy and Vicky Jean, happy anniversary. And there is a great little message. And we've talked about Brian and Susan Hannigan a lot, but every single anniversary, I get a beautiful card from Brian and Susan. Every birthday, I get a card from Brian and Susan. They understand how to have a relationship with their customers and not just transactional. Okay, the final thing is, do you have a referral program? And do you remind your customers of it? Because one of the best ways to create a loyal customer is to help them refer their friends and family over to you and then reward them for doing that. Right? So do you have that program in place? And then are you reminding them of like, hey, don't forget, refer 2 people over and you get a free cleaning or whatever it might be. You decide what that referral program is and then, remind them throughout the year so that they go, oh yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another great way to create that relationship, because when someone refers your business over to somebody else, they are way more likely to continue to use your service. Right? Because now they've talked about how great your service is and they're going to want to continue to use the service themselves. So, all right. Anything else you want to go over to Trevor before we hit the homework?
Don't be the drug dealer, right? Don't be the drug dealer. Don't give them the quick fix. Don't be a transactional company, because when you're a transactional company, you're probably competing on price.
Yes.
When all you are is a transaction to them, a service and a transaction, when somebody comes in with that same service and a cheaper price, they're going to jump ship really, really fast. So be the clinic that helps them get better, right? Be the relationship. Help them, feel like they know you, you know them, they appreciate your business, they appreciate your service, and then they want to share that service with other people. And then they become super fans. And it's all about being a super fan is how you become like recession proof, right? A bulletproof business. Loyalty, people. We're talking about loyalty. All right. Well, as you know, or can probably guess, homework today is take a look at your relationship with your clients and come up with one way that you can communicate better with them to build that relationship. You may not have one yet. You may be a transaction company, and that's okay. Again, taking the baby steps to better for the future. Just because you're doing something one way now doesn't mean you can't take those baby steps to work towards where you want to be and the kind of company you want to be eventually, right?
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for spending another Tuesday morning with us. We try to keep this one brief. And we try to keep them all brief, but sometimes I just keep going and going and going. But we want you guys to be successful. That is the whole purpose of So Tell Us Time. Guess what? It is also a way that we get to communicate with you, to have a relationship with you, so that you can see us if you're on YouTube and you can see that we care about you, or you can hear us on your podcast channels and know that we actually truly care about your business, how it grows, what it's doing, and moving it forward. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will catch you guys on the next episode of So Tell Us Time.